What's up, guys? So today we're just to do a Q&A. We got a lot of questions by you guys, and so we're going to start doing these every once in a while where it's just going to be a Q&A. It'll be a shorter podcast, but it's just going to be about woodworking and questions from you. So let's jump into it.
All right, Brandon, I got a question from one of my followers. It's B. James Design and Woodwork. And I say Brandon because you just put out a YouTube video that's kind of along the same lines as this question. It's, what are your favorite quote unquote cheap tools around the shop you wouldn't want to go without? I know you just put out a video about different tools in the shop that are good for gifts or whatever, but they were budget friendly. So
yeah,
if you want to take that one, I know that's a pretty good subject for you.
Yeah, go watch my video. Next question. No, I'm just kidding. No,
shameless plug.
Yeah, right. No, in that video I did, let's see what I do. The Rockler glue applicator kit. That's pretty cool. And it's really useful around the shop, obviously, because it comes with all the different tips. So you can use the brush, the roller. It's got two different tips for applying glue, like in biscuit joints. It's got the flat one, the pointy one.
Does it just like the tips just screw onto a normal bottle, or
no? It comes with the bottle also.
So you just buy the gallon and fill it up.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. That's what I do anyways. And then I didn't say it in the video, but I would also suggest a glue brush to go with it. And then what else I do? The angle finder, the digital angle finder. I use the crap out of that thing for checking square on my table saw and joiner and all that stuff. And then clamps. I threw the Rockler glue mat in there because that's one of my more recent favorite cheaper things.
I don't have one. I've never used one. I'm always like, everything I glue up's bigger than that.
Right.
Like, I'm never going to use it. But
well,
then
you can
everyone
get
that
more.
uses it loves it.
You can get more of them and link them together because they have like interlocking things, but they're kind of expensive. But I mean, I feel like it's pretty much a one-time purchase because they're super thick and durable. I don't think they're going to rip very easily. So
yeah, and they make different sizes too. There's large and extra large, and they get pretty big.
Yeah, I had the biggest one. I think it's like 2x3.
Oh, that's not bad. I was thinking that they're all like a foot by 18 inches or something.
No, I think they have small. 3 different sizes.
No,
something like that. Yeah, and then the one I got
those are nice to throw on the bench, man.
Yeah, for sure. The one I got most feedback on was like surprisingly the tape measures, because I threw in like the fast cap ones, and they have a bunch of specialty tape measures, so it's cool. They have that one that I showed is it's got the flat tape rather than it being like concave or whatever.
Oh, really?
So it's used for like plywood. So you pull it out and it's just completely flat. So it doesn't hold its like shape or whatever. So right when you pull it out, it just like flops down. So it's pretty much just for plywood, but it also doesn't rock back and forth. And it has millimeters and inches. So it's kind of universal.
That's cool.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I need a new tape measure, and I've been looking at those fast caps.
Yeah, that's all Oscar uses. It's all those.
Yeah.
It's cool too because it's got the little pencil sharpener in it, and it has a little thing on the front where you can write down like oh, I need a 2x3 piece of wood, and then you write it down on the tape measure, and you can erase it. It's like a dry erase type thing, but you use pencil.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Can I go over one? One thing I used recently that I got from Woodpeckers, and you don't necessarily have to get the Woodpeckers one, and fast cap. When you said fast cap, that's what made me think of it, is the angle, like the 90-degree angle clamps. Dude, those are amazing. Like they are life-changing when they come to building plywood or putting plywood together on butt joints or whatever it is. Freaking drawers, whatever it is. It just helps with pocket holes, with regular like biscuit glue. It's amazing. I use them all the time, but I know Fast Cap has some cheaper ones.
Yeah, Rockler has some too, I think.
Rockler, but then I have the Woodpeckers one. They're fantastic.
Yeah, I have those too. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
The ones that I have, I think I got them when Oscar, our buddy Oscar came up with them, and they're
those too.
Pretty much made out of plywood. They work great.
They're
but I want to get the ones
squares.
either from they really that's right. But I want to get the ones either from Rockler or Woodpeckers. They look really nice, and I know that they would be extremely handy around. And I bet they're not too expensive. Maybe the ones from Woodpeckers they are
definitely going to be expensive.
But the ones from Rockler I think are pretty reasonable.
Yeah, probably.
What I was going to say a minute ago too on the tape measures is been doing a lot of cabinets lately, and doing some built-ins for a friend of mine. And I really do think that when it comes to cabinetry, I'm going to millimeters.
Really?
I'm so fed up with using. I'm so fed up with using fractions and stuff with my regular tape measures and stuff now. I think I'm getting that fast cap one. And anytime I'm not going to use them all the time, but anytime I'm doing cabinetry and stuff, I think I'm going to millimeters.
Yep, that's what I do.
It just seems so much easier.
Especially when you're using a domino to do it, because the domino's set in millimeters. There's nothing on the domino that's not millimeters or metric. So it's
I didn't know that.
Makes it a lot easier to convert it. Yeah, so Blake from Hughes Woodworking LLC, I don't know if that's how you say it, but that's how I'm saying it, asked what made you guys want to start the podcast?
We should direct that to Jesse.
Don't all jump
to
at
me.
once.
No, actually, it's funny. He asked the right person, because Brandon's the one that kept saying to me that we should start a podcast. You were the one that was like, "Hey, we should go do one. This would be fun," and all this stuff. And I was just like, "Yeah, I think it'd be cool." And I think for me, the motivation for me to do it is just like most people don't see me outside of or talk to me in person besides my stories. If you watch my stories. But, if you message me, I usually message back almost to everybody. But I just wanted to be able to, like, other people to see, like, actually me, and not just, like, not that I'm faking it, but you only see a very slim part of what I do and who I am. So I was like, well, so I'll be able to, like, share more, which I thought was cool. And I get to just talk and hang out with you guys. It gives me an excuse to just kind of chill. So that's why I wanted to do it. But Brandon's been wanting to do it for a while. So why did you want to do it, Brandon?
Same reasons, really. I just think it's cool to hang out and, like, I've been trying to get it together with you guys for a while, and then there was a couple other people that were like, yeah, maybe, and then, like, nobody ever followed through with it, and then it kind of just all worked out to where all three of us were like, all right, now it's time. So yeah, here we are.
Yeah, well, that decision came when Jesse volunteered to edit it.
That's also accurate.
And I immediately regretted that decision.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
But yeah, same with me. And I wanted just a way to be able to get to know people and talk unscripted. I feel like we can converse more. I feel like people can learn more. I like podcasts, and as soon as we were talking about doing it, we're like, look, it's not going to be just woodworking. It's not going to be just one subject. Basically, it's just us, who we are, what we're talking about that day, what our lives are going through. And I like that. And because I don't care if this thing blows up and gets giant, it's really for the people that are the closest to us, has followed us over the years, that want to get us to know or get to know us better and stuff. So I like that. I like that idea a lot. So, and I have a lot of fun doing it.
Today's episode sponsor is Mirka. They're the pioneers of dust-free sanding.
I've been using my Mirka for over a year, and they just recently sent us all sanders and vacs, and the change for me was the HEPA vac. It is amazing. No dust, super quiet, and it's very healthy because it literally will take all the dust out of the air. Like, nothing escapes. It's pretty crazy, especially if you're using the Abernet paper. Highly recommend it.
So be sure to go follow them on Instagram. It's Mirka_USA. Also go follow them on Facebook, Twitter, and across the platforms. I know that they would truly appreciate it. And do us a favor, shoot them a message. Let them know that we sent you. It always helps us out when you let them know that. So,
yeah. So I got a question from Ziggs Construction. What are some pointers for someone starting out with video creating? So filming, starting to do this stuff for the first time, which I thought was pretty interesting. Let's do.
Well,
JP.
you're about to. I'm about to say you're about to step into a whole new world. So I hope you enjoy woodworking because, yeah, I suggest starting small. Start with a cell phone or just a DSLR camera, one that you either have or that is not that expensive, just to make sure that it's something you're going to enjoy doing before you go too far into it, because it is a lot. It's go ahead and plan on every single project that you do is going to take you over double the amount of time that it usually does, maybe even longer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It depends on just how much video you want to do, how much detail you want to put into it. And then with video, know that audio comes. And then with audio, know that editing comes. And then all the editing software. And then you're going to, be editing video, and there's going to be really loud saws and stuff going on in the background. You're like, crap, I need to add music. And if you're like me, who can't carry a tune in the bucket and don't know crap about music or know anything that has to do with lining up music with videos, then you're just screwed at that point. Then you just end up doing voiceovers the whole time.
Not to deter you or anything.
Yeah. I think
no, it's fun.
But it's
I
horrible.
I enjoy it, but you have to know what you're getting into. I say that just start small, man. Cameras on phones these days and audio and stuff. If you get you a nice little lapel mic that you can put on and use your cell phone and go from there, you won't get overwhelmed. If you try to do it all at one time, it's going to be too much. If you try to go too fast in it, I think, while still doing, your woodworking and stuff. So that's why I say just start small. Start with a cell phone, put some stuff out there, and then just keep going from there. And you build little by little, you learn little by little, and you're not completely overwhelmed and quit early.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. The only thing I would put pressure on is definitely the lapel mic thing. I would say 100% get that, especially if you're going to be doing any on-camera talking, because you don't want to have echoing in your shop. Drives me crazy when I watch videos like that. You might have a little bit anyway, even with that mic, but it's nothing like you're trying to use the mic on your phone. So yeah, you can get like even the one I bought first, it's like a 20-foot cord on it, and it's super cheap, like $20. And you can just get an adapter for your iPhone if you have an iPhone or regular phone to just plug right in. I highly suggest that. Audio is huge in video, surprisingly.
Yeah, I did a lot of videos on my phone for a long time.
Yeah.
Before getting a DSLR, I think it's easy enough. They have really good apps for editing. For most part, if you're just getting into it, iMovie on your cell phone, which I think comes with iPhones or whatever. That's a very easy app to use. If not, there's other free apps for Android or iPhone that you can download. So I think that's the way to go. And then as you get into it, you'll start to realize like photography stuff's pretty similar to tools, as in, well, first of all, it's addicting. And once you get into it, because you always want the next thing that's better. And then diving into photography stuff's like diving into woodworking, where you can just look stuff up on YouTube and there's thousands and thousands of videos on, okay, this is what you do in this situation, or get better lighting, or to set it up, your camera differently. I think one thing you could do is go listen to our podcast with Nick Key, who gives a lot of good tips. So, and go check out his channel, because he also has editing with Premiere, if that's something you want to do. So those are really good tips if you're jumping into video creating.
All right. So I got a question from W. Gustavus on Instagram. He says, what's a good starter joiner? Saw a $399 Rikon 6-inch helical bench top, but is 6-inch worth it? I say on that one that, helical is really nice. 6-inch doesn't matter. I still have a 6-inch now, but it's not a bench top. My main concern about bench top ones, if you're doing larger projects, is the bed is not that long. And that's a big thing when you're running a joiner, if you have, or attempting to use like longer boards or bigger projects. Now, if you're just making cutting boards or, mallets or smaller projects, I bet it will work great. But that's more than the 6-inch. I worry more about the bed size on a bench top. The best deal, I think, is going Craigslist. Joiners are hard to mess up and they're hard to break down. There's few moving parts on it, and as long as it's got good blades and stuff in it, those things will run forever. I bought my 6-inch Powermatic for $400 on Craigslist, and it is so old it's green. That's back when Powermatic made the green ones. So it's old, but it runs great. It's like a sewing machine. It stays, as long as it's square and it's got good blades, it's going. It's good. It's got dust collection and stuff on it. It was $400. Now, like I said, I like the helical head part of that. That's really nice because you don't have to change your blades as much, and they stay sharper longer. They run quieter. But yeah, that's kind of my take on the joiner thing. Y'all have any other budget friendly ones?
It's about the same thing. I would say, agree with you. Yeah, I would say if you are like the thing that I don't regret it because I can't really fit it in my shop anyway, but I did the same thing. I bought mine used from Oscar, actually, from Naughty Dog Woodshop. It's a Grizzly. It's a 6-inch, and it works great, but the bed on it is kind of shorter than I would want. So I would say buy a used one that's, it looks to be in good shape, and also buy the longest one that you can, because I would say, I guess it depends on what you're doing, like you said, but if you're planning on making tables and you need to edge joint boards, 100% get the longest bed you can, because I've run into stuff on this one to where they're too short and the it's hard to hold the wood up, and keep it completely flat and level, either going on or coming off the joiner. So that'd be my tip. But yeah, definitely look for used stuff. I mean, unless you're trying to like go full time and get the best stuff you can and spend a bunch of money, I guess. But even then, I would definitely look for used stuff.
What is it? I'm trying to think of the first one that I had I bought off Craigslist. It was a pretty good one too. Like I said, this one's Powermatic. It's a good brand, but even, man, I can't. Oh, Rigid. It was the Rigid one.
Yeah.
It was a pretty inexpensive, but it was a floor model, or the floor, not a bench top, 6-inch.
Right.
The beds weren't as big as this Powermatic, but that was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
It served me well. But like you said, if you don't have a bed that's long enough, you're doing longer boards, it'll wear you out trying to put down pressure on the board as you're first coming in, because there's so much counterweight on the backside coming off the bed that it wants to push the board up on
Right, and you got a lot more air there too. Like
Right.
if you push too hard, you get dips and whatnot.
Right.
Got to keep it consistent.
I know there's a bench top from Q-Tech. It's Cuetech. You guys know that brand?
Mm-mm.
I don't.
I think that's what it's called. Anyway, they have a bench top that's a helix head, and it's a 6-inch top, but it actually has extension tables that pull out, so you can actually do longer boards, which is pretty cool. It's a heftier kind of one, but that's something to look at too. If you're like, hey, I need a bench top because I don't have a lot of room, I'm like in a half-car garage or whatever it is, or 1-car garage, that's something to look at, is the option where it's a bench top. You can put it somewhere and roll it away, but it also has that extension that comes out to help you roll it across.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's what it's called.
If you are going to get a bench top, I would say, and the only reason I say it's because I had a bench top before that was a cheap like Craftsman one, and the beds were aluminum. Highly don't suggest that. They did not, like, it won't slide. They flexed. So make sure you're getting like cast iron beds.
Yeah, it's Cuttech. I don't know. Cutech.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that
tool
before.
But anyway, their joiner. Oh, it's actually, so it's an 8-inch top, but it's a bench top, and they have a version that actually has, like, this one has extension tables. So you get an 8-inch bench top helix head that has the little extension. So if you don't have a lot of room, that's one way to do it. But I think you're looking, I forget how much it is. I think it's a couple $100 more. So at that point, I would get a bigger one if you have room for it, like a stand-up model. But anyway, joiner's something that
Jesse,
you shouldn't skip on.
No. Well, Jesse, what are you running? Are you running a Grizzly?
Yeah, it's like the
I thought so.
Geo 58 something, 585.
Does that have the helical?
It's 8-inch. It's a helix head, and it's the dovetail bed. Like, so there's two different kinds of bed, right? There's the parallelogram or bed, and then there's like the dovetail bed. I have the dovetail one. Dude, it's amazing. It is it was expensive. It's the most expensive tool in my shop, I think. And it is fantastic. I love it. It was worth every penny.
Yeah, when it comes to milling your own lumber and stuff, though, when you're building things, I mean, they're irreplaceable in a shop.
Yeah.
A good joiner is. That's going to be my next upgrade. I've been looking on Craigslist, trying to find me the right one. But I'm going to an 8-inch, larger, more expensive one. So if you see one, let me know in my area.
All right. So I got a question from Victor Tango Woodwork. It's an interesting name. He says SketchUp, Fusion 360, or pencil and paper. And I'm also going to add in there Shaper 3D because Mullen turned me onto it and I like that best.
Dude, it's fantastic.
It's pretty sweet, I must say.
So they ask which one's your favorite? Is that what it is?
Like, which one do you prefer?
Yeah, Shaper 3D.
I already know, Jesse P is going to be like, I'll draw with paper, pencil and paper.
Yeah.
He's like,
I use a woodpecker's graph paper with a pencil.
He's like, I like to chisel into a stone.
Yep.
I'm more of like a one-time draw kind of person.
Got to make sure it's the woodpecker mechanical pencil, though.
Yeah. If you do have an iPad and Apple Pencil, it is Shaper 3D. I think it's the easiest thing to 3D model on. It's super quick. You can literally learn within couple hours how to do almost everything on there. It is about, I think it's 240, 260 for the year. So I mean, you're paying $260 or whatever for the year. But man, it has made modeling things, first of all, fun, which I never had fun doing on a SketchUp or you primarily use a SketchUp, but I never had fun doing it. I was always like, oh my gosh, I hate this. And I spent hours doing anything. And now it's quick. You do it on your iPad today on the couch, and it's a piece of cake. And so I would suggest looking into Shaper 3D. It's amazing.
I agree. Especially, I mean, and you can try it out for free. You don't have to pay for it to try it.
Yeah, you can do up to 3 designs.
Yeah.
Most of the tools you can use, like the different things you can do, except you can't color it. I think that's the only thing. So,
and I would say the only thing that it's real similar to Fusion, but much easier. Like the layout actually looks just like Fusion, pretty much. And you can also, as far as I know, you can scale stuff on Shaper like Fusion, unlike SketchUp. Like if you build a dresser, say, and then you want to make another dresser, but longer by 2 feet, on SketchUp, you have to rebuild the whole thing. You can't like scale it. Fusion, you can put in new parameters and it will scale itself. And I'm pretty sure on Shaper 3D, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I saw where you could just scale it and it would adjust it all.
I haven't used it yet, but I'm pretty sure you're correct.
Yeah. So the only upside for Fusion, I would say, is like the rendering capabilities are 100 times better. They look
like
almost real.
Yeah, making it look like an actual, like if you designed in Shaper 3D, which, in Fusion, people design like their whole living room, right? Or stuff like that. I just don't see you doing that in Shaper 3D. You know what I mean?
I saw some tutorials of people doing it.
So you could, but like you said, when it comes to rendering it, it's very flat colors. It's just flat colors. It's not like textures. It's not anything like that you can do in Fusion. But the actual building, if you're doing just a project and you're like, okay, I want to know all my cuts before I start, and it's all easy to put together, it is, it's very
and it's
simple.
good enough to where you could show a client and be like, this is what it's basically going to look like. You just color it brown basically or whatever.
Yeah, I've done it. And if you check out any of my free plans through Solo Stove, there's, I think, 12 free plans, and you can check them out. I have a playlist on my YouTube of all the videos. I use that. I use Shaper 3D for all those plans. It's, they turn out really nice and colored, and you can get the concept. It's not, it doesn't look realistic necessarily, but you get what you're building, and it's pretty clear.
Right. So if I was going to choose between SketchUp and Fusion and you had the time, I would say Fusion because it's got far more capabilities. SketchUp is easier, but Fusion's much better, I guess.
So I use paper and pencil.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I have to contribute to this answer is, so Victor Tango Woodworks.
Yeah.
Victor Tango is not his name. I'm going to guess that it's the NATO phonetic alphabet, which is what the military, most law enforcement, and aircraft, stuff like that, that's what they use. So I'm going to go on a limb here and say that Victor Tango Woodworks was part military, and thank you for your service if that is the case. But I guarantee that's what it is.
Yeah.
Agreed.
So I got a question from Butch's Barn, and he actually has 2 questions, so I'm going to combine them. But it was, what was your toughest build, and what's the most expensive build you've ever made? We will start with Jesse P.
They probably go hand in hand.
Oh, man.
Yeah, maybe.
They probably do. Actually, no, not for me. The toughest build I ever did, I built a table out of some Canadian hemlock that was actually given to me, that was left over from, I don't know, it was some big post. I think it was left over from a log cabin build or something. And I resawed it all down myself and made a table out of it. But with the table, I tried my best not to use any screws and stuff like that. And I ended up using some in the trestle bases that I made, and then using some cherry plugs for it and stuff, and just made them accent it a little bit. But on the tabletop itself, I did traditional mortise and tenon breadboard ends, with the mortise and tenons all the way down the breadboard. I did them by hand for the most part. I used a router a little bit, but I used hand planes a lot, and hand saws, and try to really, it in my earlier years of woodworking. So I really wanted to kind of slow down on that project and learn a lot more with hand tools, flattening the tabletop with hand planes and stuff. So it was a very challenging build for me, A, because I wasn't really that experienced, and B, I really set out to try to do some things and push the limits, especially to that part in my woodworking. So I enjoyed it, and it is still to this day one of my favorite tables I ever made. It's at my sister-in-law's house now. It's kind of made its way. It was at my house for a while, then it went to another house for a while, and then it's up to my sister-in-law's house. It kind of just goes through the family. It's a big table, so it's whoever has got a house at the time that can accommodate it. It kind of goes there.
You have to share. You have to share a picture this week. Since
I'll do that.
Since we talked about it.
I don't know if I've seen that.
It's cool.
Probably have, but
what about you, Brandon?
Man,
you didn't say what your most expensive
your most
was.
expensive one. Yeah, that's right.
My most expensive build is probably my J-Bates miter station that I made in my shop, which is hilarious that my most expensive build is a shop project.
Well, it's massive.
It's huge, and I did full extension drawer slides on it, and all the hardware and all the plywood, 3/4 plywood, the drawers, all that stuff that I did in it. I would say that it has to be my most expensive. I had to do it over a very long period of time. It was just a carcass for a long time, and then it just had drawers for a long time. So I had to do it over some time periods there and get it worked in, but it's added a ton of storage, and it's been awesome for my shop, and I don't regret building it at all. But it's kind of funny that's my most expensive.
Yeah, that is funny. I was thinking, like I said, it probably goes hand in hand, and then I was like, well, mine doesn't either. But
yeah, when
you initially think of it, you're thinking like a big curio cabinet or a high boy or something that would be real expensive and hard to do, but I'm not that ambitious. So the one that was hardest for me was probably because I was earlier, like you earlier in my woodworking journey, was that hickory like bar that I did with the river doors, the green river on the front, and I did a lot of metal work. Not metal work. I incorporated metal into it as well. And so it was just kind of like basically a box with doors and then adjustable shelving on the inside. And they had a spot for bottles on the bottom. And then I did metal angle iron skirt, angle iron on the doors, P&O hinges. And then I also did brass dowels. So all of that. And I did it solid wood. So there's no plywood on it. I did solid glued up panels, which was a nightmare because I didn't know that you weren't supposed to leave panels flat on your bench overnight. And that's where I learned about calls from, pretty sure Jesse P. He's like, whenever you do panels, don't take them out of the clamps until you're ready to use them. And so I left them on my bench.
The calls. You can take them out of the clamps,
that's
not the calls.
Yeah, calls. And then I left them on my bench, and they cupped and warped and everything, and it was just a huge nightmare that lasted like a month. So that was my most difficult
your door
one,
panels?
probably.
Wait. Why did your door panels?
The side panel, because I made the whole thing out of glued up panels. I didn't use no plywood. So like the sides were, 5 or 6-inch glued up boards.
Gotcha.
And it was hickory, so it's like heavy and annoying. I don't know, it was annoying, but it looked really cool when it got done. I was glad I did it. And then my most expensive one was that big Claro dining table I did. That was a big solid slab that was, I think, 9 feet. So that was like a $10,000 table, but mostly just because of the materials. The slab alone was $4,800 before I even touched it. So
is that the one you just routed out? That
no. That was,
this is different.
I guess if you want to count the stuff I do at work, that one was the most expensive.
Well,
I think it was a $18,000 table, something like that.
Yeah. So when you were showing it, like, this is what I'm routing into it, I was like, oh, that is so stressful.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable.
First of all, I hate routing, especially like that. It's like, I hate that. And that's super expensive. Plus it's a client build. It's like, no thanks, man.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the cost of a small car.
Right.
Yeah,
the only thing that made it less stressful was that wasn't my responsibility to replace it.
Yeah.
If I messed it up. So it wasn't as bad. But yeah, I had, between doing the routing on the front, which it was a template, so it wasn't that big. There was really no way to really mess it up per se.
Yeah.
But it was still like, between doing that and then routing out the back whole area for the light panel to go in, I swear I probably had 30 hours of routing. It was ridiculous. Luckily, we have a CNC now, so we don't have to do that anymore. Even though it's not hooked up yet. Well, technically, it's a plasma CNC that has a router attachment, so we'll see how good it actually works.
So I think my hardest, yeah, mine are two different ones too. So my hardest build was probably my dad's mission style white oak desk, and that's because I wanted to use zero screws, which the only thing that has screws in that whole desk is attaching the top to the base with Z clips. It's the
I
only
thought that was
thing.
alder for some reason.
No. I have two. I made two different mission style desks. One for my uncle, which was a little simpler.
With the
I
half
still,
laps, right?
huh?
The one you
No,
had plans for
no. The Alder, no. So you're thinking of the half lap desk.
with
I've
dowels.
made quite a few desks.
Apparently,
That's an Alder desk. That one was like my first thing at doing not using pocket holes pretty much, and just actually just using half lap joints and
that's
stuff.
what I
And
thought you were talking about. Sorry.
yeah, we still have it. It's in my son's room now. But no, the hardest one is my dad's, because it was a lot of, I mean, it's a lot of white oak. It's solid white oak, and I used all mortise and tenons, joinery, and yeah, pretty much the whole thing. And so it was one of the first times I've ever even tried that before, and it was a lot of wood, and it was for my dad, and it was expensive, and it was like super stressful, and I kept putting it off more. Like, I made the top, which is the easy part, then I just put it in my shop, and I was like, we were talking about last week.
Yeah, I'm definitely not guilty of that.
Yeah, JP was saying like, there's that point in the build where you're just like, I don't want to do this, and you just like leave it, and then you come back you come back, and that's I did that for, I think I did it for like 4 weeks. I just left the top, and I was like, I'm gonna go do other stuff. And it's because I think I was just mostly intimidated. I was like, I want to do mortise and tenon, but I'm a little scared I'm gonna screw it up. Anyway, I did it, and it worked out. I mean, obviously, when there's mistakes on the desk, and there's things I wish I did a little bit better. But it was one of the first times I've done it, and it did turn out pretty good. Actually, transporting that desk from Utah to California, I didn't have my shell on it, on my truck, and when we started headed down, and we went into like a massive monsoon storm on I-15 going down, and like we pulled over because I just started seeing dark clouds ahead of us as we're driving south, and I'm like, dude, I gotta pull over and put a tarp on, which I'm lucky I grabbed a few tarps, so I threw tarps on it. Then we kept driving, and it just rained on us for like 3 hours.
Wow.
While we're driving. I'm like, this desk is just gonna be so effed up by the time I get back. and so then when we got there in the morning, because we drove through the night. So we got there, and we pulled it out, and it was pretty good. The tarp actually worked pretty well, but there was a part where like, the water would pooled up like in my bed of my truck, and it was touching like the blanket got wet, and it was touching the top of the desk. And so when we took it out, you could see where it was wet, like where the linseed oil, where it was all distorted. So I had basically sanded it all down while we were there, and went and bought more linseed oil, and then came back and re-oiled it up and all that.
At least it wasn't a finish that you had to like special order, like Rubio or something.
Yeah, no, it was just linseed oil, because a lot of Mission furniture back in the day, all they used was like linseed oil. So it's like, I want to kind of keep this as natural as possible, because my dad in his house almost has like solely Mission style furniture or Craftsman style, a little bit of both. But yeah, so anyway, that was pretty stressful. When it comes to most expensive build, though, it would be that walnut desk I built, which was a mid-century modern desk, and I like glued up the legs, and then had someone locally turn them for me to make them circular all the way down. And then I made kind of the box of it. It actually wasn't very hard. It was just very expensive, because I used like prime walnut. So it was uber expensive there. Plus it was all solid. There was no plywood or anything. So I made basically 2 desktops, and then made sides. And so they were on top of each other. Then I made the drawers on the inside. And so, yeah, that was the most expensive build.
You should change your name to Mullen the Desk Maker.
I know, dude. I didn't realize I've made like 7 desks.
It's like, so I made this desk and that desk, and like I thought it was. Oh no, that was a different desk.
I actually kind of enjoy making desks. I have to make another one coming up to match the first one I was talking about that got wet.
Yeah.
It's now back in Utah because my parents are
I was
moving here
gonna
and have
say,
another house.
That's what I was gonna say. Now it's gonna make its way back to Utah if it hasn't
Yeah, it
already.
is. Yeah, so it's here now
That's
at their
funny.
house, and so he wants me to build another smaller one that's going to go next to it. That's going to make like an L shape, but it needs to match, but just be skinnier and long, where he's going to have his computer on, and then he'll have the big desk in front. So that'll be probably beginning of the year. Will be like my first project. So we'll see how that goes.
Okay. I got a question from B. James Design and Woodwork, and let me just say this real quick. I'm terrible at reading these names like this. Like when it's like a vanity license plate. Sometimes when they're all together, I have problems reading anyway.
Yep.
And when you put stuff all together like that, I'm like, I can't get it out. But
Yeah.
all right, he says, best way to attach a table or desktop to a base: Z-clips or figure eight, or does it matter?
So what's a figure eight?
Just screw it
Is it
straight
just-
to it. You'll have zero problems.
Pocket holes.
So
Yeah.
a figure eight is just like it's like a circular piece that's just 8, right? And you screw it to the top of the base.
Have
and
you
it
seen a
comes
number
out.
8 before?
No, I know. So
It looks just like that.
I was gonna say a snowman because I'm still kind of a kid at heart.
hey,
A snowman has 3.
I was just clarifying because maybe people like me, I never heard of it as a
I
figure
know.
8 before, but there's some people that don't
really?
know it. Plus, we get that comment all the time when we're talking woodworking. They're like, "Can you please explain things better?"
Yeah.
I'm trying to explain things, Brandon. But so basically, you route out a little part on the top of the base so that the little 8 sits flush, right?
Yep.
And you screw that
Right.
in, and then it sticks out, and then you just screw in the other one, right? But how does that give it movement? Is it just because it can rotate?
Right.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, and most
I would
I've
assume.
seen-
I've never used
No, I
them.
haven't
Me
either. I always use Z clips, and I will always use
So
those
do I.
because they're
They're so
best.
Same.
easy.
But the most people I've seen that put those in use Forstner bits to put them in.
Right.
So
Oh,
super easy.
interesting.
But I think you have to. I shouldn't even talk about it because I have no idea. But I'm assuming you have to use a bigger bit than the piece, so it has room to rotate.
Yeah.
And also, that seems like it would only work if you used it on the ends, so it can rotate because,
Yeah.
width-wise, it can't go into itself. I don't know, unless you put them
Yeah.
at an angle a little bit. Maybe I have no idea.
So let's explain Z clips. So Z clips kind of look like a Z. Brandon, you ever seen a Z before?
I have.
Okay, all right, just make sure. So they look like a Z, but you basically cut a slot into your base, and the Z clip slides into the slot and then kind of makes a Z up to the table top. And then you screw it into the tabletop, and it holds the base to the tabletop, but it allows that slot that you cut allows the tabletop to move and over time, so you're not putting stress on the tabletop.
Yeah.
I absolutely love them. I cut my slots with a biscuit joiner, and it's perfect. It is super easy and fast.
Same.
Like I just don't. You could also do it on your table saw too. Just cut a freaking
Yeah.
slot.
You have to
through
do that
one rip
before
and
you
you're fine.
assemble it, though, which is
Yes.
Yeah.
what I
That's why I
always
use
forget
a
to
Cut a
do.
dado with your
And then I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, well, crap.
Biscuit. That's why the biscuit joiner is the best thing.
Yeah,
Just
that's what I use. I have a
you're
little
done.
line on
Throw
it,
it in.
and it's labeled tabletop fastener, so I know exactly where to set my.
That is so much better. I always freaking like line it up, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm like,
That-
yep,
I'm gonna give Brandon the
that's smart.
very rare accolade here
know.
because that is pretty
Yay.
smart.
I'm
I don't
going
do
to do
either.
that next time I make a
Go me.
tabletop.
Dude, I did that
That's
like
exactly what I'm
the
gonna do.
first time I did it too. I was like, I should just make a mark. This will be easier in the future. And now,
That's
3 years
smart.
later, it's still there.
No, it's,
That's pretty
I'm
smart
gonna-
because
I'm
I
gonna
do
use
the
that.
same thing, Jesse. I'm always getting mad and
Piss me
trying to
off.
figure out how to,
especially when it's like a little
adjust
when,
it.
when it's a little too high, and then you
Uh-huh.
put the first
Yeah.
one in, and you're just like, oh gosh, and then so you either have to cut new ones. You like move it over, so there's a bunch
Uh-huh.
of slots all in your base underneath.
Yeah, I've done
no
that
good.
before because I did like biscuits on the top, and then it was real close, and I didn't check it, and I just did it. It wasn't on my mark, so it was my own fault.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, there's another way to do it. Like I think you were talking to Chad earlier about it in the chat. I didn't see it fully, but people sometimes will, and it's kind of the old school way, is to drill through your apron with an oversized drill bit, and then use like a washer to be a recessed washer. Like use a Forstner bit to recess the bolt or screw and washer up in there, and then as long as the hole is bigger than the screw, it has room to move. But I like the tabletop fasteners best. And you can even make your own too. They call them like buttons or whatever. I've seen like Keith Johnson makes his own. Yep. And that's fairly simple as well. But it's the same concept.
Yeah, I was impressed by how easy it was to make them when I was watching him make them. I just buy them because they're really cheap. You can get a bag of like 50 of them on Amazon for nothing.
Yeah, $20.
And they're so easy to put through. But I don't know much about the figure eight. So like you said, I can't really speak to them one way or the other. Just because as soon as I started using Z-clips, I was like, well, this is just as easy as it ever gets. So no reason to really change too much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the figure eight just seems like there's more steps. And it's like, if you can cut out steps when you're building something, why not do it?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, absolutely.
If it's the same purpose and they work, it's the same. Why? Doesn't make sense. So I love Z-clips.
All right, so I got a question from our buddy Bill Benoit. I don't know how to say his name. Years later, still can't say his last name. How do you say it? Jesse, you're French. How do you say it?
I'm French. Hey, how dare you?
No, not you.
JP.
Oh, from
that's
Nashville,
right.
Tennessee.
Bill, you just shut up. You're French Canadian.
It's Benoit.
Benoit.
It's
Yeah,
Benoit.
right. I knew that. Okay. Anyway, he sent 6 questions, but I'm gonna read one. He says, "Who would win in a smoke-off between Mullins with an S and JP?"
JP.
JP would. Mostly, you know what? When someone has decades of experience more than you just assume that they're going to end up winning. Okay? I think if you want to talk ribs, that's where my specialty is. I think I have a chance to beat him in ribs. I really do. That's the only thing. I think everything else, he kicks my ass.
I love how I wasn't included. What a dick.
Let's go. Come on.
Come on.
Come on, bro.
Hey, I got a Traeger. I can cook anything.
We love you.
Come on.
Can't
You called
mess
me
up
the other
stuff
day. You're
on
like,
there.
how do I make biscuits on the smoker? I'm like, do you know how to make it in the oven?
I was talking more about the gravy, not the biscuits.
That was literally.
How did you?
The way that
How
you
did
told
you make
me
the
was
gravy?
way
Did you
that I
open the
was
packet and put it in the water?
No, my girlfriend made them from scratch. Actually,
She made homemade.
Oh,
not
She was
the
bragging.
biscuits. We made those with the roll. Those were.
Oh, okay.
But
she's still a keeper. If she can make gravy,
it
she's
was
a keeper.
amazing. And I used the meat I got from my boss. That's like steak hamburger. So I use hamburger gravy because I don't like sausage that much. So yeah, it was delicious.
It's weird, but it's still gravy, I guess.
Yeah, it's what I grew up
Gravy's
on.
great. But no, I think JP beats me. Besides ribs, I think I have a chance on ribs. What do you think, JP?
Well, I appreciate that.
You think I don't have a chance on ribs either, or you think?
No, I'd smoker. Yeah. There's no chance in hell you beat me.
You
I
have
don't know,
no
man.
idea.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think
One day
is
we're going to get together. It's
that'd
going
be
to be
so
awesome.
much fun.
I'll be
And
the
film it
judge.
We're going to have a cook-off.
and put it up on the YouTube. That'd be great.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
yeah.
That'd be super.
We can have
fun.
our own
It'll be a lot of
competition
fun.
show,
Dude, Food Network picks us up.
right?
We all move to Nashville just because of good barbecue. You know.
Yeah.
No one says, "Hey, I went to Utah for good barbecue." So
Right.
I'd
On the
go.
podcast earlier, though, that I recorded, they did say it seems like there's a bunch of good makers in Utah, and they have a lot of meetups there, which I wasn't.
That
aware
is
of.
true. I've gone to none of them, and not because I don't want to, because when they were doing it, they don't do them anymore. At least I haven't been at least invited to anyone. We actually literally I was planning on going we had this whole thing set up to go to a Dave and Buster's in Salt Lake and like hang out there and because there's a bar and like all the stuff. And I was like, oh, that'd be fun. So I was actually planning because it was like the first one after I stopped being a state trooper, which means my schedule was actually open since I only worked nights. And that week is when COVID broke out and everything started shutting down. So it was like back in March.
Makes
and
sense.
I was like, oh, everyone's like, maybe we shouldn't go. And then they called Dave and Buster's like, yeah, we're closing down. So you guys can't come because you have like 12 people.
Right.
We're like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
So but I haven't been to one.
I guess
So-
I should mention that since I've referenced it twice now, whatever makes it into the edit. It was the Behind the Maker podcast. So they're new. Couple of girls, they're doing a great job. So if you guys want to go check that out, feel free. Lizzie was on it also recently. So the House of Timber. So
It's awesome.
got some good guests. So Bill has another question. We'll wrap it up on this. Ever just feel overwhelmed or burned out from doing so much social media?
100%.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Especially
yeah,
Instagram.
and
About every Friday.
Yeah.
So when I get burned out, I'm like, I usually take Saturday. I usually do take Saturdays off. I might jump on, but I don't post as often on Saturdays because of that. It's just like, I think I need a break.
Yeah.
Can you leave me alone?
Yeah.
It's less for me now because I have my job takes up more of my time than it used to somehow, because I do 4 10-hour days, so I'm not really on there a whole lot during that time, rather other than just talking to people. But so my weekends are when I'm mostly on there, so it's not as bad as it used to be. But yeah, definitely still get burned out, especially if you had like deadlines for videos. That's when it really gets bad for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, anything you do, as much as we create content for all of our social media accounts, because all of us at least run 3 in a website, and probably more, if we're being honest. And to be successful in any social media, you have to post a lot and you have to post consistently, or you will not see growth unless you just get the random viral video every now and then.
And that's never good either.
Especially on Instagram. Yeah. And that doesn't translate to long-term growth. It's just a quick growth, and then you'll see it go down eventually as well. But especially with Instagram, you're going to post every day, every other day, if you want to see any good, consistent growth and, grow on those platforms. YouTube's the same way, not as much because there's a lot more editing and longer projects that take, some more stuff. I'd say probably the more successful YouTubers outside of our niche probably post a ton, probably every day on YouTube. But anything that you're doing that much, you're going to get burned out 100%. I think after I'd been on YouTube for, I don't know, it was either my 1 year or 2 year mark, I can't remember. I said, I'm done. I can't do every day. And I just took a couple weeks off, and then I just posted sporadically. And then now I've kind of gotten out of the rhythm, and I just post when I have stuff. I'm not forcing content. Just when I'm building, when I have it, when I can cut my YouTube stuff down to stuff to post on Instagram, that's what I do. And I find stuff that's relevant. And I think that's been a lot healthier for me these days. It was good to make that push in the beginning and grow and do stuff, but it was a lot, and you get burned out very fast, especially when, like most of us, especially getting started out, it's not our job, and all of that at that time, especially that time, all of that was for free.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, we weren't getting paid
supposed
crap.
to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was, and I enjoyed it, and if we didn't have fun and didn't enjoy it, we wouldn't be here today, because we'd have gotten burned out and quit.
Yep.
Which so many people do.
Mm-hmm.
They come in too hot, and then they're out,
Yep. I've seen a lot of people come and go.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I got burned out to the point I was like, I don't want to, like, I was getting burnt out of, I think it was social media that was burning me out, but I got burnt out of woodworking, everything. I basically took a break for 2 weeks.
You just
Or
disappeared.
Not 2 weeks, 2 months.
For
Sorry,
months.
2 months.
I was like,
2
where
months,
did
like
Jesse
basically during
go?
the summertime, I was just like, I got to step away. I'm just going to get off, like not really do anything and just kind of focus on my career at the time and family. And it was the best thing I could have ever done, because when I came back, I was like, hey, I want to start doing this again. I had a project that I need to get done. I was like, all right, I'm going to get back on. And as soon as I got back on, I started doing it. I was like, oh, this is fun. I remember why I started doing this. I enjoy this. And I started, I was posting every day. I'm still posting every day, but it was a lot less pressure. I don't know. The 2 month break is nice. And now I usually try to take Saturdays off. And then I'm not on it a ton on Sundays. And that's I try to take the weekend off and spend it with family. And, I might actually be in the shop. A lot of the Saturdays I'm in the shop, but that's because my wife's home and she can watch the kids. So I do a lot of building on Saturday, but I'm not a lot of social media. So it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
So
breaks are
my shop
definitely
days.
important for sure.
Yeah.
The reason you probably felt refreshed when you came back is because you were probably just like everybody else, and like I was. The first time you take a break, you're like, crap, I'm gonna take a break and lose all my followers, and like you're thinking it's just the world's gonna end, and then you leave and you come back and everything's still the same, and you're like, oh well, I guess I can take a break and everything's gonna be fine. So then it's a little less pressure. Yeah,
you come back and like when it looks at like, because I was growing a ton even when I stopped. I was still like on the uptick, and I was just like, hey, I'm going to just hate this. So I stopped. When I came back, it was super slow. Yeah, I'm talking about growth. Like, it was super slow, but, after like 1 week of being back on, it was pretty much back where it was, and it was like, Okay, cool.
Yep.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So the point there is, if you are getting burned out and you are not doing this for a living where you're, are counting on the income or whatever, take a break, because it's not going to kill you. You're going to be just fine in the end.
Mm-hmm.
People will pick right back up on it. You'll show right back up on their feeds and you'll become relevant once again, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
At least that's my experience. It seems like y'all have the same one too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would add to that, if you do plan to try to do this as an income, put some other things out there to where you can settle down on or like take a break if you need to and still be making enough money. So what I've focused on is try to get as many irons in the fire as possible in different directions. So if one thing fails, then the other thing's going to keep, you can take a break and it's not going to not pay the bills, basically.
Yeah, it's not going to break you.
Yeah.
Like,
get as many, tree branches out there to catch the money on the way down as you can. So
no, I agree. Well, thanks for watching, guys. We're going to be doing this Q&A segment probably once a month. So make sure you send us questions. We'll put them down kind of in a sheet. So when we do the episode, we'll have all your guys' questions ready. Let us know what you think. Comment on the video. Make sure you subscribe on our YouTube channel. Go review us on Apple Podcasts, because that helps us a ton. And like JP said earlier, make sure you let Merca know, that today's sponsor, that you heard it here, and it helps us a ton as well. So we'll see you guys next time. Go build something.